Hi folks, the Filipina P here. And I've been filming a lot of outdoor stuff lately, so it's been forever since I did a mailbag video where you guys ask my advice about the problems you encounter when dating a Filipina. You wouldn't believe all the emails I've gotten over the past 2 months. And check out what I've got for you today. A man who feels creepy about all the attention he gets from much younger Filipinas. A foreigner who gets shut out of the conversation every time he visits his in laws. And a man whose Filipino girlfriend just delivered the most shocking request of all time. She wants to add another woman to their relationship, her little sister. I kid you not. So let's dive right in with an email from Jeremy in Bohol, right here in the Philippines. Jeremy writes, Dear P, I started watching your videos back in 2022 when we were in the middle of the COVID lockdown. I really wasn't thinking about the Philippines as a place to retire, but I kind of got hooked on your channel. And the more I watched, the more I realized that your country might be the answer to my life of loneliness. I had recently gotten divorced after a 19-year marriage, so I was completely unprepared for the sad state of affairs in the modern dating scene. The thought of actually finding someone to love again seemed almost impossible. But I really did follow your advice. I stayed off the dating sites and I made arrangements for an entire month long adventure with boots on the ground to explore the Philippines and see what it was all about. If I liked it, I was gonna finish up my affairs in the US and come back. Right now, I'm halfway through my vacation and loving every minute of it. I'll skip all the stuff about where I've gone and what I've seen because it's not really relevant to my question. But suffice it to say that I think I could retire and be happy here. So, anyway, here's my issue. I'm one of those guys that really wants to share his life with someone, and I came here to find a mate. I intended to look for someone age appropriate, but the women that are interested in me are all in their 20s or early 30s. I watched your videos, so I know what you said about younger Filipinas pursuing you. But I thought that was mostly just the scammers on the dating sites. Now that I'm here in person, though, I can see that's really the way it is here. My problem is, I'm in my late 50s, so the thought of being with a woman in her 20s makes me feel like some kind of pervert, like the kind of man I would have looked down on back home. Even if they don't say it, I feel like everyone will look at me like a dirty old man if I'm holding hands with someone that's younger than my own daughter. The yuck factor is real. The trouble is, I've only met a couple single women over 40, but I just didn't seem to click with them. And as much as I hate to say it, I seem to have more in common with the younger ones. So my question is, where do I find an older woman who's looking for the same thing I am? Or am I just wasting my time by hoping for someone that doesn't exist? Well, Jeremy, I am thrilled to hear you're actually doing something to make your life better, and I'm really flattered that you watched my videos and took my advice. And I understand your problem, but it sounds like you might have missed a few of my videos because I've actually covered this topic before. But since I still get asked about it all the time, let me explain it again. There's two main reasons why it's harder to find a woman to date that's over 40. The first reason is because almost all Filipinas get married pretty young. And since there's no divorce here, they get taken off the market permanently. Even if our relationships don't last, we're still not free to date again. And it's actually illegal for us to be with another man unless we get an annulment, which is really expensive and not something most of us can afford. The second reason is because older Filipinas usually don't speak very fluent English. The generations before mine weren't told to go to school like we were, especially not the women, who were expected to just get married and have babies. And when you don't speak the same language, it's really hard to date someone. Ever wonder why almost all my interviews are with younger Filipinas? It's because I can't find any older ones, even though you guys keep asking for it. Believe me, if I could locate some women over 40 that could speak English, I definitely would, but even I can't find them. And I often hear guys say, what in the world could I possibly have in common with a 25-year-old Filipina? But once you get here and figure out what the different age groups are really like, you realize you might actually have more to talk about with the younger ones. But that still doesn't address how you feel about it, which is largely a social construct. You see something wrong with it because your society tells you it's wrong, whereas in our society, no one even notices. Now, if you take a young woman back to the West, you might be the target of some nasty looks or even nastier comments. But here, it's just no biggie. But I still can't change the way you feel about it. And if you're really determined to find a woman that's had a few extra birthdays, then all I can tell you is to take your time and keep looking. You will find her, but you might have to put in a lot of extra effort. Good luck, Jeremy. So our second email is from Sean in Batangas, who seems to be having trouble with his girlfriend's family, but not the problem you might expect. Sean writes, Dear Miss P, thanks for taking the time to read my email. So I've been dating a really kind and considerate woman for about 6 months now, and when we're alone, she seems to anticipate my needs and think of me first, just like I do for her. But there's one thing she does that really pisses me off, and I want to see what you have to say about it. Her brothers and sisters and both her parents speak English. I know they do, because I've heard them on video calls. But every time I go to her family's house, within 60 seconds, they're all speaking Tagalog, which totally cuts me out of the conversation. She tells me I should get to know her parents, but I end up sitting in the corner like a bump on a log because they just stopped speaking English. I want to be respectful to her family, but I haven't had the time to learn their language. And since we don't plan on living in the Philippines anyway, it's not really something I was worried about. I'm just tired of sitting in a chair and smiling like a dumbass while they're all staring at me like a prize pig and making comments I can't understand. After the second time this happened, I mentioned the problem to my girlfriend, who totally denies the fact that once they say, Hello, how are you? They all switch to Tagalog and start talking 90 miles an hour. So I want to know if this is normal, or is she purposely using a different language to talk behind my back? And what can I do about it that won't cause a scene? Thanks. Well, Sean, you might be surprised to know that your problem is actually very common. I probably hear the same thing from about 5 guys a month. The truth is, we can be totally inconsiderate and downright rude when it comes to excluding you. But if I had to guess, I'd say she's not doing it on purpose. She's probably just getting interested in family talk and she reverts to Tagalog without thinking about it. Now, some people might say, it's their country, so why should they speak English to accommodate you? But if they invited you to their home and they know your language, then they should speak it. Otherwise, it's like inviting a guest to a dinner and then eating all the food right in front of them without giving them any. If I were you, I'd simply decline all future invitations and tell her why. Explain that you'd really like to get to know her relatives, but you'll just stick to one-on-one video calls where they have to speak English. Problem solved. And if your girlfriend doesn't like it, then it's up to her to fix it. Take care, Sean, and let me know how it goes. So, our final email of the day is from Kevin in Quezon City. And before I read it, I want to reiterate that every single one of these emails is completely genuine and sent to me by a real flesh and blood person. To those of you at home who have never been to the Philippines, some of these can seem almost impossible to believe. But to those of you who live here, they don't seem nearly as outlandish because this kind of thing actually happens. And the following email is one of those cases. So now let's hear from Kevin. Hi P. A really strange situation has come up, and I'd like your input to see if you've ever heard of something like this before. I'm retired and I've lived in the Philippines for over 3 years now. And for 2 of those years, I've had the same girlfriend who lives on another island. She's a provincial woman living with her family while she finishes college, and she comes and stays with me once a month for a couple of days, as her schedule permits. Lately, we've been talking about what happens after she graduates, and the possibility of her moving in with me while she looks for a job in the city as we start a life together. A few months ago, on one of her visits, she asked me something completely out of the blue and totally shocking. She asked me if I'd consider adding another woman to our relationship. My first thought was that she must be bisexual, but when I asked her, she said absolutely not. So then I was thinking this was a test or I was being set up. And if I sounded the least bit interested, then she'd go ballistic. I really didn't want another woman anyway, and I never even hinted at such an arrangement. She's a beautiful young woman with a level head, so her proposal really surprised and confused me. Of course, I told her she was all I ever needed, but instead of smiling and being happy, she seemed kind of sad and disappointed. I tried to find out why in the world she even brought the subject up, but she brushed it off by saying she was just curious because she thought that was every man's fantasy. But that was not the end of it. The next time she stayed over, she laid out the whole plan, and she'd obviously been thinking about it a lot. And I was not prepared for what she was about to say. With a very serious look on her face, she said, I want my little sister to be part of our relationship, and I think it'd be really great for everyone. My brain instantly short circuited as I realized she was talking about her 19-year-old sister, who is frankly even more beautiful than she is. My mind was full of chaotic thoughts and a million questions, but what she said next pretty much explained the whole thing. My girlfriend said, this is the best way to protect her and get her out of the province before she ends up pregnant with no future or married to someone without a job who will ultimately leave her. She said she wanted her sister to learn about life and sex in a loving and caring situation that would allow her to finish college without a financial burden. And then she can move on with her life knowing what kind of man to look for. Still in shock, I asked if she'd already discussed this with her sister, and she informed me that yes, her sister was on board with the idea, and they were both hoping I'd say yes. Already starting to feel guilty just thinking about it, I asked if her parents knew too, and I was relieved to hear that she hadn't said anything to them yet, and that she'd tell them that the younger sister was just coming to live with us to take care of the house, and that we're paying her way through school, which they can't afford. According to my girlfriend, everyone would get something they wanted or needed, so it was a win win. And now I have quite a dilemma since I told my girlfriend I'd think about it for a few weeks and let them know. I do like her sister, but even though the offer is very tempting, I see a lot of danger signs too. So, P, tell me what I'm missing and help me clear my head so I make the right choice. I've known you for 5 years and you haven't steered me wrong yet. Well, I can try to clear the head on your shoulders, but it's the other one that's gonna need some serious convincing. Okay, so first let's unpack all this for you viewers. I know this sounds like a crazy situation, and it is, but that doesn't mean it's all that uncommon. Where there's extreme poverty or turmoil at home, sometimes the most important thing is to find a place that is safe. Now, I don't know what's going on at home with Kevin's girlfriend and little sister, but if it's like some households I know, a setup like this one that we're discussing might seem like a good way out. Might seem like a good way out. But here's where I turn into P, the party pooper. I know it's really tempting, Kevin, and I'm sure what you're describing would make a once in a lifetime penthouse forum submission. But some lines should never be crossed, and I think this is one of them. If her sister's in need of a safe environment, then why not use your girlfriend's idea? Let her take care of the house and maybe do the cooking. And in return, you help her pay the tuition. School is ridiculously cheap here, and this is your chance to be a hero, not just another person taking advantage of her. And can you just imagine what a hero you'd be to your girlfriend? You'd be the guy who protected her little sister and demanded nothing in return. If you really love her and you're planning a life together, don't you want to show her that you're an honorable man with honorable intentions? That's a lot better than being the guy who paid a few $1,000s to get his rocks off with his girlfriend's little sister. Don't you agree? I know a lot of guys would succumb to temptation, but I have faith in you, Kevin. So let me know what path you chose, okay? Well, that's it for this episode, and I'll be back next week with something totally different. If you want to hang out with me before then, just check out my Patreon page where you'll not only be able to chat with me in real time, but you'll get to watch my exclusive videos and features you won't see anywhere else. Till then, folks.
You know how cute I always thought you were.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like your lifeguard, keeping you from drowning in a sea of doubt about life in the Philippines. I won't let you dive right into the deep end without learning about our culture and customs. You can always count on me to take care of all the little details along the way. Wait, what is that in the pool? All right, everyone, out of the pool, out of the pool! We're gonna have to shut it down for weeks and get a hazmat crew in here. That's so disgusting. Which one of you subscribers did that?